So today I'm going to be talking. This will not go as long as this is not going to be a 2 hour webinar or anything. This will go a little bit shorter, but I'm going to be showing you how you can actually build and engage your audience to crush it. I got a lot of new stuff. This is not some of the same stuff you may have seen in a previous webinar. So there's a lot of new stuff in here, but I want to really emphasize to you why you should be considering doing a newsletter. So my promise to you today is I'm going to show you the exact system that actually made me in my pocket profit $271,000 last year. And it's on track this year to do 500K. And that's just the newsletter itself, directly related to the newsletter. It's actually probably more than that, but I can't actually track every attribution. But I believe it's actually more than that in my business. You can do this no matter whether you're a SaaS business, you're a product company, you're a consultant, you're a trainer, you're a chef, you're no matter what you are, this applies to you. Is you're just going to take what I'm going to show you and apply it to your field. I work on in the beginning, it was quite a bit more than this, but right now it's about 10 hours a week. I publish 2 newsletters a week, and it takes me about 2 hours to do each one. I actually write and lay out every single one of them. I don't have a VA that's doing that. I mean, I do have a VA that helps do some other stuff, but they're not really, they are not really involved in writing or composing or compiling the newsletter. So that's all on my side. I use some AI tools. I use some different things. It's not written in AI, but I do use some tools to help. But this is scalable in any product or any service niche. And I'm going to show you how to turn your inbox into a money-making machine and outrun any of these algorithms that are happening right now and future-proof your business against anything. Traffic right now, traditional traffic is collapsing. Facebook used to be the holy grail, and Facebook is still good, but the ad costs are up 48% since 2022. I'm in presenter mode. Thanks for letting me know. Let me swap displays. That should be better there. Thanks. Cool. Yep. All right. Cool. Perfect. Thanks for letting me know that. So right now, costs are up dramatically across Facebook. I'm going to show you some of my numbers. Social reach is throttled. I can post some. I've got 12,000 some odd followers on LinkedIn, which is a good little following. I mean, it's not huge. Like some people here have 30, 50, maybe 100,000 plus. But anytime you get above 10,000 on LinkedIn, you're considered one of LinkedIn's top posters or whatever on the follower side. But I can post something and it might get 222 views. You know, they tell you if you have a pro account, tell you how many views you get, or it might get 20,000 views. And there's some parts of the algorithm you got to do to juice that, but sometimes it's just pure luck, pure time of day that you post it. Just the right people had to see it and started commenting right away. There's the way you write it, but if you put the minute you put a link in there to try to sell anything or to cross promote thing or to have someone go and download something, you basically kill your reach. This is across Facebook's, across Instagram's, across everything. And so it's difficult. It's easier to build an audience there, but it's hard to actually leverage that audience into actually money. So what you want to do is you want to use social to actually help you build an audience, but you got to leverage it another way. And I'm going to show you how I'm doing it. I'm going to take you under the hood and I'm going to show you real numbers and real screenshots of exactly what I'm doing. This is not some hyperbole. This is not some made up stuff. I'm going to show you the real stuff. This is Elon Musk, a post from him in June, I believe June of last year. And he basically says, look, news is dead. You know, people going to news sites, people going to blogs is dead. You should still have a blog. And if you're using a software tool like Beehive, it defaults and makes a blog and you'll get some traffic. You'll see that here in just a minute, but it's not much. People don't go to blogs. You got to go to them. And he said all the top writers in the press are actually starting their own newsletters, which is true because they want to reach people and know that they're reaching people. And founders who aren't building their own audiences, we've been preaching this in the Amazon world for quite some time. You need to own your audience. And I've found that there's no better way to do that than with a newsletter. A lot of you have known that I've been in this space for 10 years, since 2015, 2016. I think I went on my first podcast in the Amazon space. I've been on, I think, 197 different podcasts, episodes, not individual podcasts, but different episodes for different people. I've put out over 200 on the AM/PM podcast. I've put out 50 or so with Norm on the Marketing Misfits podcast. I've probably spoken on 120, 150 stages. 220,000 people have gone through my course, the Freedom Ticket, I do with Helium 10. Nothing has had a bigger impact than when I started the newsletter. It took a little while to get going, but once it got started rocking, and you'll see here, I'm going to show you this flywheel, It actually is the best thing I've ever done for the Amazon educational side of my business. I'm now doing it for my product businesses. Norm and I are doing it for stuff we're doing with Dragonfish. Everybody here should have a newsletter. But you got to do it right. And 99% of the people are not doing it right. And that's what I'm going to show you. Because the problem is only owned media lets you totally have control. If I send out a newsletter and I've got 30,000 people on my list, and let's just say I get a 40% open rate, that's 12,000 people that I know at least skimmed or at least opened the message. And they might not have read it. Most of them probably didn't read the whole thing. They might have skimmed it, might have gotten halfway through it. But I know that with consistency, that every time I send that out, I'm going to get something in that neighborhood. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on the subject line and a couple other factors. But I know that if I do a post on LinkedIn or Facebook, I might get 200 people see it. I spend all this time writing it and creating it, or I might get 1,000 people see it, and I have no way to gauge that, no way to actually leverage them. The only way to do that's with owned media. 28% of all marketing emails go to spam. And it's getting worse. Yahoo just tightened some rules. Gmail just tightened some rules earlier this year. Gmail, Yahoo, and Hotmail account for 55 to 60% of all email in the world. So basically, whatever rules they make are the rules you have to go by when it tries to get into inbox or promotion tabs. And now with newsletters on Apple iOS, there's a new newsletter promotion tab. And so some newsletters are seeing their newsletters go into this newsletter tab. Now, if you've upgraded their subscribers have upgraded their iOS, and those are actually, they're not seeing the newsletter anymore. So it's affecting open rates and click rates. 67% of emails go to the promotions tab and never get seen for the vast majority. 51% are never delivered, 5% are never delivered at all. They just get blocked. If you have certain words in there, if you have certain links, if you have a link to a site that's on a blacklist in your email, your newsletter, and sometimes CNBC is on a blacklist. If you have a link in there, some of these have rules so tight they'll just block it totally. They don't even show it in your spam. They just completely like throw it to the trash, and you're just spinning your wheels. So there are some challenges when it comes to email, but still they overweigh everything else out there. The thing is with social media, like I've said before, you cannot take ownership. You might have a huge following, but the minute that they change the algorithm, the minute you get shut down for somebody complains about something you didn't even do and they shut down, you just lost everything. You have no way to really leverage those people. You got to get them off of there. The same thing with selling on Amazon. You're on a marketplace. You got to get those customers into your database. You got to get them to where you can market directly to them. You can do that with Shopify if you're doing FBM. TikTok Shop gives you some information, but there's nothing more valuable than an email address and a phone number and a physical address as any kind of business. Once you have that, no matter what happens, you can pivot and you can leverage, and that's what you got to be working towards. You got to start thinking about owned versus rented, and you want to develop a deep relationship, a personal relationship that's emotional with your audience. The fact that I do a newsletter and you're going to see some numbers here in a minute. I call them rabid fans. You only need 1,000 rabid fans to actually make $1 million a year. And you're going to see when I show you, I have like 800 that are rabid newsletter subscribers and those people are the prime audience. And I'm at $500,000 this year already, and it's only 4 months into the year. I'll probably exceed $1 million this year on the newsletter, and I don't even have the 1,000 yet, but I'll probably get there by the end of the year. That's all you need, but you can leverage that into everything else that you're doing. And you have permission to go into their inbox. They actually want to see you. You're not just trying to sell them something. They actually look forward to actually getting that email and reading it with their coffee or reading it over the weekend while they're relaxing or taking it on the train or whatever it may be. You have permission, but you have to build that. You have to earn that, and that takes some time. Email is not dead, despite what some people say. There's almost 4.5 billion email addresses out there, and it's still growing by 4% per year. Believe it or not, there's still people that are still getting online with email. About 1 million emails are sent every second, legitimate ones, not just spam ones, legitimate ones. The big one is 96% of people check their email every day. They might not read everything, but they at least check their email every single day. And 81% of shoppers are more likely to make additional purchases if they get it by email. Email is the most effective marketing medium I have, period. It's better than any Facebook ads. It's better than any LinkedIn. The only thing that might rival it is direct mail. Actually sending physical postcards to the mail, which you can do too. Once you have an email address, there's ways to actually get that data and actually email people. But there's nothing more powerful than that. The best tool, in my opinion, if you're going to start a newsletter is Beehive. There's others out there. There's Kit. There's software tools like MailChimp and Aweber and all these that will do newsletters. I would not touch those. Substack. I know some people like those, they're used to them, but Beehive was built by the people that built the Morning Brew, like employee number two or three, that helped build their whole system. They come from the newsletter world, not email marketing world. So they have all the bells and whistles and all the metrics and all the everything that you need to actually build a newsletter right, and then create that newsletter and publish it to a blog. Do all the statistics, all the cross promotions, as you're going to see. Beehive, if you're going to do it, and it's spelled kind of weird. It's BEEHIIV.com. BEE like a B, normal spelling, and then but the hive is HIIV.com, and no E on the end. If you want to check it out, you see it up there in the top left. But that's the tool that I use, and you'll see some of the screenshots from that. Here's the difference. There's a lot of us get newsletters, and there's a lot of people in the Amazon space, service providers, and people that send out newsletters. They're not newsletters. Anything that starts out as "How's the weather?" or "I hope you're having a great Easter," or whatever, or "Things are going good here with us." It's getting cold. What all that kind of they're just junk. They're just promoting themselves, so they just talk about their new features. People want to feel like they're getting insider knowledge, not promotional spam. Nobody wants more email. None of us want more email, but what we want is more value. And if you can provide value and be consistent about it, and that's the key, is consistent, you can make a lot of money, as I'm about to show you. This is Matt McGarry. He's probably considered the top newsletter guy in the space. If you're thinking about doing a newsletter, you can look him up. He has a newsletter that comes out every Saturday for newsletter creators. That's pretty good. He runs a newsletter conference. He does an audience conference. He's probably considered the top in the space. He has a new agency called GrowLetter, which actually specializes in helping newsletters grow. I've used his services. I just recently canceled. You'll see why here in a second. But they did a fine job. But here's what he says. He says the reader must get the value in the email itself. They don't want to click 5 times to read your content. Too many people put a little blurb and say, click off to go read it on my blog. That's wrong. You've got to summarize it in the newsletter. They want concise, skimmable, and useful comment in the email itself. If they don't get that, you do not have a newsletter, no matter what you call it. You do not have a newsletter, and most people do not have a newsletter. They're not doing this. Why should you listen to me? Some of you know me, but you probably get my newsletter, but why should you listen to me? Before this was a hot topic, and before newsletters came kind of in fashion 4 or 5 years ago again, I was doing this in the late 90s, before Beehive, before all these tools existed. I built a newsletter to 250,000 people. This newsletter, we send it out every single day. People could actually, we built custom software where they could pick the time of day they got it. If they wanted it at 6 a.m., we sent it at 6 a.m. We had a cron job, so an automated processing job that would go out and do it. I had 2 guys that were scouring the internet every day looking for stories. We had people, we drove them in a newsletter with summaries, and then we drove them to a website where we had games and jokes and photos and trivia and all kinds of different things. We were able to leverage that into a multi-7-figure business just off the back of that newsletter. But we quit doing it around 2003, 2004, because CAN-SPAM came out, and things started going to spam, and nobody knew the rules, and it became difficult, and we were having trouble with deliverability. So we just kind of moved on to other things. And then when AI became a hot thing a couple of years ago, I was at a conference in Vegas, and they're talking about doing AI newsletters. You don't need to. You can do 19 different newsletters with one person. And I was like, I don't know about that. I think AI is a great tool, but I don't think people are going to subscribe to an AI newsletter for very long. They might try it for a little while, but I don't think you're going to have a high stick rate or a high engagement rate, or really be able to provide that massive value that if a human is not involved. A human can be using AI tools, but they to help make it for sure. But so I said, you know what, this is a good idea. I'm going to do this for the Amazon space. So in August of 2023, August 14th, I launched the Billion Dollar Sellers newsletter. Then I did a talk at Perry Belcher's. He had a newsletter summit, and I was rated the #1 talk at that summit over everybody else there, because I showed people really how it is. So maybe you're not familiar with my newsletter. Here's just a quick, short little video just to show you if you're not familiar with Million Dollar Seller Summit. Oh, it's no audio. I guess my Zoom didn't reset right. It's okay. So there's no audio. Sorry, I didn't have the Zoom set right when I had the computer crash. It didn't come back up right, but that's okay. So you'll see here, this just a general little promo. This was at our booth at the Prosper Show. But here's my numbers. You saw it said 26,000. That was in March. Now I'm at 31,542. This is active subscribers all opted in. This is not just me blasting anybody that's on my email list like a lot of people do. There's a lot of people in the Amazon space that say, yeah, my newsletter goes to 45,000 people. Most of those people never signed up for it. It's just anybody they got an email from. There's people that do webinars, and anybody that sends traffic to the webinar, they share the list with everybody else. And so you start all of a sudden getting like a 100 emails from different service providers because they all sent traffic and they shared the list. Those are garbage numbers from those people that have newsletters. Those are not good subscribers. That's just spam and promotional emails. These are all opted in. They said they wanted it. I've kicked off 17,000. So in basically less than 2 years, I've had 48,000 people sign up. Why did I kick off 17,000? Because I clean the list every 2 to 4 weeks. I go through, and anybody who hasn't clicked or opened anything in the last month, I kick them off because I don't want them on the email. I don't want them on the list because they're hurting my deliverability and they're not engaged anyway. They can always come back, but I don't want them there. So these are the numbers. The number that matters is not open rate, but it's click-through rate, because open rates can be deceiving. When someone says, yeah, I have this super high open rate of 70%. Number one, I don't believe that. I believe it on a small email list. Maybe if you got a small email list or a very targeted list, I believe that. But if you've got more than 10,000, 15,000 subscribers, I don't believe that 70% is a consistent number that you can maintain. You might hit that occasionally, but more in the 30 to 40, 50% would be considered a good number. And there are newsletters that can consistently hit that. But the bigger you grow, usually the smaller that open rate goes. But also Apple, anything on an Apple device shows it's opened. So if 20% of your subscriber base are using iPads to look at the email, it's going to be a distorted number. And you may show 29% open rate, but your open rate really is only 10%, because 20% of those people show as open, whether they open or not, and only a certain percentage of them are doing it. So you got to be careful there. So click rate is the most important thing. Now, there are some bots that will click stuff, so it can be a few in there, but it's not too bad. Only big corporations might use that, but that's the number you want to look for. You want to get that above 2%. Above 4% is ideal, is gold. You can see I'm right below that 4% right now because I've been adding some new people lately that aren't quite as qualified. But this is my gross revenue. This is out of Stripe. I printed this out last night at 9:34. So far this year, from January 1st, this is a special Stripe account. I have multiple merchant accounts. This is a special Stripe account that handles just my newsletter stuff, newsletter ad spend, newsletter affiliate stuff. This does not include PayPal payments where affiliates are paying me or some of those kinds of things. So about 30,000 of this is probably something else. So you can knock that down to about 370. But if you add back in the PayPal payments and affiliate stuff, it's going to exceed this. That's so far this year in 4 months, just off of having a newsletter directly attributed to the newsletter that I can directly attribute just to the newsletter itself. So what I want to do is I want to ask you right now if it'd be okay if I share something with you. If I want to share some insider stuff with you. If that's okay, if you can type into the chat, yes, please share, or just yes. Let me see some people type yes, so I know you're here, know you're listening. I see Eddie, I see Stefanos, I see Mark, I see Jordan, Mike, I see Brian, Michael Hare, Brian Johnson. All right, Shane Barker, awesome. So I'm going to share with you some secrets now of how did I make that money. That's what everybody's here. Like nobody really, they just care about, you just want to make some damn money. So let me show you how this worked. I'm going to show you some of the secrets of what I did and some backed up with real data. So you may be saying, Kevin, this newsletter thing sounds great, but I don't have a list. I haven't been doing package inserts. I don't really have a list to start with. You can start with your own customer list if you have one, but you don't want to just blast them a newsletter. You want to have them opt in. You want to send them out something that says, hey, we just started a new newsletter. It's going to cover X, Y, and Z. We'd love to have you as a trial subscriber. Sign up. When I did this for the $1 Billion Sellers newsletter, I had an email list of about 35,000 people that were on my email list from various things, trades with different webinars and different things that they come in on. I did not just blast them in my newsletter. I sent out to them, and I had 1,700 people opt in. 1,700 is all that got my very first newsletter out of 35,000, because I did not want to ruin my reputation among all the email service providers as a spammer, or I didn't want people to start thinking I was just blasting them stuff that they didn't ask. I wanted people that were interested. If they weren't interested, I didn't want to waste my time sending them something just to cause problems later. So that 1,700 is now grown to what you saw of 32,000 active. It's really 47,000. In the first 10,000, I did no advertising. I did virtually all I did was basically just got the word out. And most of that you'll see in a minute came from referrals. If you don't have a list, just get started. Even if you just get a few friends or a few family or someone on your Facebook group or some buddies, even if you start with 5, 10, 20 people, that's okay. Because in the early days when you start one, you're going to be a little rough around the edges on the newsletter. You're not going to be quite as good at writing or whatever. And those first people, it's fine. It can snowball from there. But there's other ways to do it too. And this is how I've been blowing it up. That's what I'm about to show you. In the United States, there's no such thing as privacy. It doesn't exist. They may tell you that. They have privacy statements. You may get emails that say, we just updated our privacy statement. But if you go read them, it says privacy doesn't exist. And there's even a book. I know who you are, and I saw what you did. The internet marketers know everything about you. You have no secrets. You have zero secrets. Now, they might not make those public, but you have no secrets. Everybody's worried about TikTok and everything spying, but Facebook knows just as much, if not more, than TikTok about you. The difference is they're based in the US, so there's a little bit more control. And you can use this, though, to your advantage to grow a newsletter and to grow an audience, to actually build your brand and sell more products or services or whatever it is that you maybe want to do. Where I'm having really good success right now is with something called Traffic Grid. And the way Traffic Grid works is when someone is in their inbox. So if you wake up in the morning to get you're having your coffee and you're checking your email either on your phone or on your computer, in that moment, you're scrolling through probably all the emails that came through in the morning and overnight since the last time you checked. There might be 50 or 100 spams in there, and you're just deleting them or skipping over them or whatever it may be, looking for the ones that you actually care about. And if I send you an email last night at 3 in the morning, it's going to get caught up in all that mess that you're going through and probably not seen and probably not opened unless you're looking for it. If you're not looking for it, if I can hit you the moment you're in your inbox, the moment you're actually sitting in your inbox reading your emails, and all of a sudden you get that, that old AOL thing, ding, 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 you've got mail, and another message pops up, and that subject line is relevant to you. I know you're an Amazon seller, so I have some sort of subject line that's really catchy for an Amazon seller. You're like, ooh, that's interesting. How to rank faster in 10 minutes, or I don't know, some crazy subject line. And you're like, that's me. I'm having trouble right now. You're going to open that email. And if I have something in that email that's valuable to you, it's not promotional. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just providing value. Like, here's a profit calculator. Or here's a tool that can analyze your competition and see what they're doing. You're like, this is pretty good. And you click it. When you click that, you automatically get added through an API to my Beehive flow, and you get a welcome email. You basically, a little thing pops up, says, do you want to subscribe? You say yes. You click it. Okay. And then you automatically get added into my flow. Now, how am I just showing up in random people's inboxes? I'm not showing up in random people's inboxes. I'm targeting you. And I'm going to show you exactly how I'm doing that here in just a second. But when I pop up an email, what I do is you can use an AI. This company will offer to do an AI newsletter for you. I don't do that. I go and I know what people have been clicking on over the last 2 years in my newsletter and what's popular. This profit calculator from Profit First is a really popular thing. Every time I run this, I get a lot of clicks. People want this. So if I put that in there, I know it's likely going to encourage somebody that I just popped in their inbox when they were in their inbox to probably click that and get on my newsletter list. If they're an Amazon person. So I do an email like this that's got 4 or 5 different things. This is only part of the email that actually relevant to them. But how do I know that they even care about Amazon? How do I target these people? It's because I find people that have been to certain sites that are relative to me. If you look here at the bottom part, the paid campaign, this is the first time I did $5,000 ad spend. It cost me $1.25 per lead. And you see there on the column where it says sites, sellerapp.com, Ecom Crew, and Smart Scout. Most of you probably in the Amazon space, you know who those guys are. Anybody that's ever been to one of their sites, I can target them. And I'm doing one right now. You see the top one, the stats, I just started, so the stats aren't populated in here yet. $10,000 ad spend, and I'm getting them for 83 cents each. This is per subscriber. This is not like per click. This is per subscriber that's actually in the email. I'm targeting Getita, AdBadger, and PackView. PackView owns Helium 10. So anybody that's been to these sites, you can do this for your brand. You can target your competition. You can target other people, other groups, other websites, other affinity sites, complementary sites. Local, if you're doing something local, in Austin, you could target, other gyms or something like that. People that have been to some of these places, and then narrow it down by geolocation. You can target these people and then just pop up in just their inbox. So they're already predisposed to probably like what you're doing and probably be interested. But I'm not going to sell them anything. If you try to sell them something off the gap, this is not going to work. You've got to first engage them and build rapport and build trust and build that audience, and then you leverage that into community and other things. But you can see here, look at the engaged rate on the bottom part from the one I did April 11th, 44.9% engaged with click rates of 34.5% and 2.1% click-throughs. That's not the click-through I wish would be a little bit higher, but it's okay because the cost per lead is 83 cents. And I know my value right now of everybody that gets on my newsletter list, every subscriber as of right now is worth $17 to me. And it's going up. So I'm glad to pay 83 cents to get somebody that could potentially be worth $17. Now, the quality of these leads might not be quite as good as if you get them off of Facebook. So I was, for the last 8 months, using GrowLetter, which is that agency I talked about earlier. And it's a good agency. He does a good job. He does all these top newsletters. So you might be familiar with some of these. These are big time newsletters. He's worked for them. He works with a lot of big brands. But my cost was significantly higher. The best we could get, this is from last April before I cut it, or like 3 weeks ago before I cut it off. I've been doing it for 8 months. We're trying all kinds of stuff. I spent $2,000 in this week advertising on Facebook ads. I got 431 people sign up to the newsletter, but it was costing me $4.85 a lead per sign up. That is quite a bit more. And really about half of these people, those 431, never even opened an email. Half of them are just basically waste. So that means my cost is really double. It's really close to $10 than it is to $5. And Traffic Grid is a slightly less qualified lead because they didn't see an ad and take an action. They were kind of sniped. We kind of sniped them. But even if it's 2 to 1, even if the quality of the lead is half as good on Traffic Grid, and I'll throw away one of those 83 cents and it really cost me $1.60, I'm fine with that. I'm fine to take some people and just see what happens and cut them off to get my total cost down and to find the gold that's in the list. You can do this kind of stuff and it can work magic. And I'm rolling this out big time right now. And you can do this on any brand, any topic, any subject. Not every single website on the internet is available, but it's intent-based stuff. There's companies like Audience Lab and others that do this, but it's super, super powerful. And my newsletter will grow dramatically. Unfortunately, Amazon's a really niche thing, so there's not like tons of, the market is not as huge as if you're selling some sort of supplement or weight loss thing or something like that. But I can remember, you only need 1,000 rabid fans to actually make money. You can also rent lists, or you can buy lists, or you can trade for lists. This is a list of Amazon sellers based on, I know you can't read it, and that's kind of on purpose, but it has their phone number, their email address, how many reviews they've gotten, how many products they have, what their estimated sales are, where they're based, their LinkedIn profiles, all that kind of stuff. You can rent these and send them emails. I try that. It's not quite as effective. You're not going to have the same results, but it is an option. But these are scraped generally there's like 3 companies in the Amazon space that do this, and they scrape the data, but it's not quite as effective. There's also stuff like retention.com and DataZap. So if someone comes to your website, one of the things I tell people is that have a really good insert. This example I've given is if you're selling on Amazon, have a really good package insert, and it's like win $1,000 gift card or something like that, or $1,000 MacBook Pro. We give away one a month, something that people really want. And they come to your website and they enter their name and address and phone number, or at least name and phone number, and then once a month you give away that drawing, but you're getting all those leads. Now, some of those leads are going to be people that just share it. So you want to have qualifying questions there. But some of those people are going to come to the website and they're never going to enter anything. They're like, nah, I don't want to be on an email list. I don't want to get another spam. I don't want to be like share my real information. But with these 2 sites, you can actually find out about 60 to 80% of the customers that come to your website without them ever telling you who they are. It uses geolocation, it uses past history and big databases, and they can match. Now, sometimes they'll mismatch it. If I'm in my house and I'm living with my grandpa, and my grandpa's looking at porn sites and I'm not, It might think I do because we're in the same IP and the same computer. So you can have a little bit of mix up, but they still can be very powerful tools. And that's how sometimes if you ever visit a website and you just like a day later or sometimes even an hour later, you get an email from that website, this is how they're doing it because they know you were just there without you even giving them reference. That's another way to do it. If you're going to do that, you need to use a tool like Zero Bounce to run these emails through that these services give you. This is like a not like a little kid's. It does a knock knock and then runs away. So it's like when you're a kid and you're playing a prank on your neighbors and you go knock on the door and then you go run and hide in the bushes. It's basically what this site does. It sends a knock knock email to the servers and to see if the email exists. Because what happens on Gmail, if you start sending out a bunch of, especially to Gmail, if the person hasn't logged into their Gmail email in the last 6 months, Gmail will oftentimes not disable that email. They will move it to a spam folder. And any emails that come into there, they see a pattern of emails coming into there, and knowing that you haven't even checked that, you're not active, they automatically start marking everything across all your emails as spam. And you stop reaching customers. Zero Bounce will fix a lot of those problems. They'll find all the people that have closed. They'll find all the fake emails, get all that stuff out. It's a really good tool. And then what you want to do is you want to use something like Instantly, which you don't want to just start sending them in your newsletter from Beehive. That's a mistake. You want to have a whole separate domain, like at Aweber, a separate email, totally separate domain, separate IP address, and you want to do a warm-up sequence. Instantly.ai is a tool that would do that. So I've gone into Instantly for about $300. I got like 18 different domains, like $5 per domain, and I think it was 4 or 5 emails per domain. They set it all up for me automatically. And so I have like billiondollar-sellers.club and billionnews.net and all these similar names, but not my real name, all on different IP addresses. And they do what's called a warm-up sequence where they split all your lists. Like if I get that list of 5,000 Amazon sellers and I want to test it, I don't use that on my Beehive. I use it on here, and then they send out like 30 per day per email address, and they kind of like warm it up so they don't freak out the Gmails or the Yahoos to start putting you in spam, and they test the list. These are the kinds of tools, and then but when I send the email to them, I say, hey, you should subscribe to my newsletter, which does take them to Beehive. That's okay. And those people then go into the Beehive sequence, and I get legitimate, real emails of people that want it. So these are some of the tools that you can use for that. This is from my Beehive. You can create what's called segments. So I can go in and I can create basically rules and say, hey, show me anybody that's ever clicked this story. I want to know anybody that's ever clicked an AI article in my newsletter, so I can make an audience of AI people. I want to know anybody that's ever clicked, Getida or one of these seller investigators or anything that's ever asked for refunds. So then I can create list. You see here on this list, I have A, B, and C list groups based on how much they've clicked. So I know who my better subscribers are. I have what's called raving fans, and the raving fans right there in the blue, you see there's 744, and these are the people that click at least 80% or more of the time, are open and 87% of the time, and click, I forget what the number is, they have a certain number of clicks. These are the raving fans. These are the diehards. These are the people that like, I want that newsletter. I don't miss a newsletter. This is one of my favorite things in my morning. These are people I can sell almost anything to. And so I have 744 of them right now. And that number's growing. Remember I said earlier, all you need is 1,000 to make $1 million. And then I have down at the bottom, you see in the red, have referred at least one person. And 1,039 people have referred at least one person. So referrals are a major portion of my audience as well. And you can see there, LinkedIn is not so high. It's a little bit up from the red one, like 4 up, only 553, despite me having 12,000 people. And we plug it all the time. It's on my LinkedIn profile. It's not nearly as effective. I see, you can see right above the red one, have never opened or clicked an email in 10 plus sends. So I've sent them 10 times and they never opened anything or clicked it. There's 938 of them. 0% click open, 0% click through. Those people get deleted. Now, do they completely get deleted and go away? No, they go over to my Aweber, and I'm going to still market to them on a separate domain. They're going to get my other emails, for promoting stuff until they say stop. I'm going to try to squeeze them to get something out of them, and eventually I'll go back and I'll ask them, hey, maybe you just got busy, maybe you're on vacation, you want to resubscribe. A lot of them will resubscribe. Or sometimes I catch people in the net that are like, no, I've been opening it, reading it all the time. It just didn't register for some reason. So it takes a few innocent people out too, but it's okay. It keeps everything clean and deliverable. Now, another way I make money is on recommendations. So in Beehive, they have a system where you can refer when someone signs up for my newsletter, I can refer them to someone else, or they can refer back to me with one click. You can see here I've referred Lunch with Norm 2,537 subscribers. And then the Ranking Pill 305. I know I saw Ritu's on here. I've sent her 1,131 subscribers in the past. Some of these I stopped because they quit promoting me. So when like Norm still promotes me, I remember I told Norm I stopped promoting him. He's like, "Why did you stop promoting me? We're getting all this traffic." I said, "Because you took my link out of your newsletter. I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be a one-way street." So he put it back in a prominent place in his newsletter, and so now I'm sending him traffic again. But so the same with these others. I'll cut them off. I've sent Isabella Ritz 570 before I turned it off because she quit promoting it in hers. But then there's others that will pay you for this. So these are basically trades because they're friends or people in the industry. But there's also they will pay you per lead. So in Beehive, this is a recent report. I've made $2,671 off of 1,392 referred subscribers. These are people I don't know, like some AI newsletter or some other Amazon newsletter that I don't know the people, and they'll pay me $1 to $3 per lead. And so I've made 2,600 bucks. So when someone subscribes to my newsletter, a little pop-up shows up. Hey, do you want these also? And if you say yes, and you actually open and click a couple times, I get paid. So I can leverage the cost of my advertising that way. Here's another one called SparkLoop, which I also integrate. Besides the Beehive, it's actually a little bit better than Beehive's. And I've made $12,500 off of this one by sending 26,000 referrals to like The Hustle and Morning Brew and like random other ones that are paying me money for it. So this helps cover some of the advertising cost, and it can be turned into a profit center. So sometimes you can be generating leads at a pure profit. The secret number two of how I'm doing this is the subject line is super important. A lot of you know that. You can use ChatGPT. I have a $10,000 a year tool called Genesis that's badass at actually creating emails and subject lines that I use, but most of you don't want to go to that level. But there's something called subjectline.com that can actually really help you hone in your subject line, because a bad subject line won't get opened. You'll notice if you're a subscriber to my newsletter, subject lines are usually pretty good. And then you're like, what is that? And then when you click it, I used to put that thing at the top, whatever that was in the subject line at the top. I used to even have a table of contents at the top, and I got rid of that too because it just told people where to go. So now I hide it in there. So if you got my newsletter today, it said something. It talked about a tool that spies on your competition, and you had to hunt for it in the newsletter. You can't just find it right away. So that gets you to scroll through the newsletter. I'm hoping that you see one of the ads. I'm hoping that you see some of the other stories, and you got to go find it. But the subject line is what gets you in. And once you got them in, you want to do a seduction formula. So what Norm does on the right-hand side is he actually does a story. I used to do this in the very beginning. I've kind of gotten away from it. But when I first started, I did personal stories and I tie them to business. Norm still does this model, and it's a very good model. It gets people engaged. So right up at the top, there's a short little story. It's called a 6-second story. His is a little bit more than 6 seconds, but it's to get you engaged and pull you down into it. What I do is I do the Stump Bezos, which a lot of people like. It's like a trivia question. So it's at the top of the newsletter. And then the answer, it says answer at bottom of email. So you got to scroll all the way down to the bottom to see it. So it gets engagement. Hopefully you'll see something along the way as you're scrolling that's of interest to you and get you engaged in the newsletter. I also do, a lot of people don't realize this. I'm playing around with it, but I have a podcast version of my newsletter. So click to listen to this newsletter. So some people, they don't want to read it. They want to listen to it when they're working out or on the train or something. So it's about a 12-minute version. So the way that works is I pay $300 a month to a guy in the UK. And so I finish my newsletter, say it's a Monday newsletter. I finish it Sunday night. I send it to him, a test issue of the newsletter to him through Beehive. By the time because there's a 6-hour time difference, when I've woken up the next morning, he has an AI done. It's my voice, but it's all AI. And it's an AI version of the newsletter that you can listen to. It's like 10 to 12 minutes long. And a lot of people really like that. So that's another little hook, but little things that you can do too. And then I'm about to use that to actually put it onto YouTube. And so I'm taking some other AI from another tool and actually creating animations based on that with an AI tool. They'll create an animated video. It's not just me talking. You could do that with 11 Labs or something, but that's not just me talking. It's like an animation, animating the stories. And then I'm going to start putting those on YouTube, and it'll get traffic on YouTube because YouTube is for podcasts, especially, is about 55 to 60% of all podcasts come through YouTube, not through Apple or Spotify or something. It's through YouTube. So I think that's going to be another massive free traffic generator as that starts to snowball. I'll be taking all those on there and doing that. So then secret number 3 is what I call the cash stacking flywheel. There's gold inside your list. And there's tools that I use called MegaHit that will take all my newsletter subscribers from Beehive. It does it from some of the other tools too, but Beehive, and it will actually reverse engineer who they are. And so it will automatically, it updates like every hour. So I can go in. I know you probably can't read this, but it'll show me here's the subscribers, here's their name, here's their LinkedIn address, here's what it says their organization is on LinkedIn, here's what their LinkedIn title says they do. Maybe they're marketing director, maybe they're biz dev, or maybe they're whatever. I can target those people. So I know they're on my newsletter, and I can see how active they are. So I can see, it shows me here how many times they've opened and clicked. And I can say, oh, Susie over at XYZ company is the business development person in charge of sponsorships. And she's a pretty active user of my newsletter. I know she knows who I am. Let me message her and see if she wants to do some ads. Or let me message her and see if she wants to buy my product or my services if I'm a consultant or something. Or maybe partner with me. And you can see all this kind of information, target the people on your list without them telling you. They just uses public data and pulls it all in. It's super, super valuable. You can also have a sponsor kit. And what I do is I use a software tool called Bubble, BUBBLE.io. It's kind of like one of these no-code software things where you can build without having to know all the ins and outs of coding, you can build a software platform. So I built this platform, it looks like this, where people can book their own ads. There are ones out there that exist, like that you can do this, that already exist, but I like to control it myself. And so people come here, it has the latest metrics, 31,200 subscribers, says, other people that have advertised, gives some basic opt-ins and click rates, and then they can just do everything right here. They can actually upload their own ads here, upload all the copy, upload everything. It just sends it to me, and it's all automated. I don't have to have an employee doing this. It's self-automation. And then I have a media kit. It's like a PDF that goes out. They'll say, hey, this is the cost of a sponsored ad. If you want a bigger ad, it's $1,000. If you want, and then within Beehive, once you get to a certain level, Beehive will start showing you potential advertisers. Within Beehive, these don't pay as much. You saw here $650 on the left-hand side for that ad. These ads over here for like Neurons, or let's just take Levanta. Levanta's they pay $2.40 per click. And they're estimating, this is just estimates, I usually beat these estimates, but $266. Why? That's just general rule of thumb. I know my newsletter is more valuable than that to Levanta, so I'd rather charge them $1,000. See on the right-hand side? And they will gladly pay it, and they do, because it's valuable to them. Why should I take this $266 when they'll pay me $1,000? But maybe there's a newsletter where I haven't sold anything. I just have empty. I have a day where I just have a vacant spot where I can put an ad. Then I will come in here, and it's called remnant space. I will use these guys only for remnant space. But it adds up. It's a few $1,000 a month. It adds up. It helps cover cost of things. I also do what's the real money, though, is in what's called dedicated emails. So if you're on my newsletter list, you get a newsletter on Mondays and Thursdays. It always says BDSN in the subject line. And usually on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, you get another email, sometimes even two. Another email, it just says Kevin King. It does not say BDSN. That way you can always filter that the real newsletter always says BDSN. If it just says Kevin King, it's not the real newsletter. It's a dedicated email. So it's an email that goes out just talking about the sponsor, whatever it is. It could be a PPC company. It could be Levanta, Stack Influence, whoever it is, just talking about their offer. So there's no distractions. There's no other articles. There's no other advertisers. And I charge, it says $3,500 here for the first email. That price just went to $4,000 because they're so effective, and I'm adding more people. Some of these get more than 2,000 clicks. You can see here some examples. One that got 1,019, another one got 955, and this is back when I had like 20,000 subscribers or 18,000 subscribers. The numbers are much higher now. I need to update this. But so these are super, super effective. They're so effective that yesterday, I think I saw Shane is on here. Shane Barker from TraceViews actually saw that I'm doing this webinar today. He said, hey, I'm just going to give you some good news, a little testimonial here, unsolicited. I didn't ask for this. He just sent this out, and he said, hey, we did 2 campaigns, and we paid the $3,500 each for the dedicated email. And today we did $58,000 off of those 2 messages. This is an advertiser. Do you think he's going to keep coming back? Yes. He'll probably do several more, and the number's still going up. He just sent this unsolicited, seeing this, and I saw he's on here. So thanks for that, Shane. I really appreciate that. But he's not alone. Stack Influence pays a lot of money every 2 months to re-up their deal. I have another person that's paid over close to $80,000 because it works so well for them in the past year. And I have more, and I sell these things out way in advance. And then when I don't sell one, I can either use it for myself that day, or I can use it for a webinar or something. Or I can use it as an affiliate thing. So there's one day back in, I think it's December, Helium 10 is right around the New Year. They were doing some sort of like promotion, and they were trying to get me to be an affiliate. And so I sent out a single email, one email. And so far this year, you can see these are the PayPal payments from Helium 10 for that email, $9,868. That's better than $3,500. So that's $9,868 so far, and that's going up. As you can see, these payments keep continuing, and that's off of one email alone. Now you take a look at what about my stuff. This is where I'm selling other people's stuff. What about my own stuff? Your own products on Amazon, your own services, your own trainings, your own gym memberships, or whatever it is. Just last week, you can see here, this April 23rd is when this started. I think, I'm looking at that right. April 23rd to April 25th, 26th, really. I did almost $40,000 by selling replays to the most recent BDSS. I'd already sold another $80,000 prior to this. And then I came back with another offer. I was like, there's still people that want it. They probably missed the first emails, didn't see it. So let me go back out, change the email, change the wording, change the subject line, see what happens. Because I had the newsletter list, I made $40,000, basically free money, selling my product. You could do this for Amazon products too, or anything, your Shopify site or anything else. If you have the list and you have the engaged audience. When I don't have other things, I can do webinars. This is so far this year. I've blocked out what the webinars were, but $125,000 generated in my pocket, my share. The revenue is much higher than this because there were affiliates for some of these. And but that's $125,000 just by doing 7 different webinars here over the last year. Webinars like this one right here today. I'm going to offer you something to buy here at the end of this. This will make some money. And that's another example of leveraging that list. You can do it for anything. For Prime Day, just imagine if you had a list of newsletter people that are engaged, and you could do this for Prime Day. You can blast stuff out. What about a new product launch? You could blast stuff out. The thing is about newsletters, they give you this authority. You don't want to create a newsletter for your brand, though. That's a mistake. You want to create it for your industry or niche. Don't create it for your brand. That's a company newsletter. It can be seen as a promotional email, and you're going to have a tendency to be more promotional. Now, I call mine $1 billion sellers. It's not $1 billion seller summit newsletter. There's a whole branding thing in there, but $1 billion sellers. And so you want to create it for your industry, and that way you can leverage. You can have affiliates in there. You can test competing products as an affiliate. You can see what works, and you become an authority in the industry, not just for your brand. Now, your brand can sponsor it and will have definite placements. You should definitely use it, but create it for your industry or your niche. You have to be consistent. I see a lot of people that start in this, and they do it for a few weeks or a month, and then they quit, or they miss a date. They say, I'm going to come out every Monday, and life gets in the way. They go on a trip, and they don't come out on a Monday. You cannot do that. You're like the news. It's like if CNN decided to shut off on Saturday, some of you would be happy. Other people would they'd be missing. You have to be consistent. That's key to building this relationship and this rapport. It's key. You'll see that sometimes I don't have time to write mine. I'm busy doing $1 billion seller summit. So if you're on my list, you'll get a best of. It'll say something at the top. Kevin's busy. But here's a best of. You probably missed half this stuff anyway because you didn't open all the previous emails. So there's still going to be something new in there to you. So you get a best of. I never miss. I have never missed a single date. Make sure you only do opt-in. Keep any kind of prospecting on a separate domain, separate system. Don't use Beehive or whatever for that. Use tools like MailGenius or Warmly or MailTester. Before you send your email, you can send a test email to them. And they will tell you, oops, you got the word free in here 7 times. That's going to flag the spam filters. It may be legitimately have the word free in there, or you have the word buy. Like if I'm doing a story and it's the buy box, and I have the word buy box, Amazon's buy box, well, it'll flag it. The spam filters don't know that that's a legitimate term. but I have to go in and I have to change that wording so that I get through the spam filters. These tools will tell you. They'll tell you if you had dead links or going to spam links. They'll tell you all kinds of stuff. Design matters. There's so many newsletters that are poorly designed. They're hard to read. They don't flow. You'll notice in mine it flows. Uh, and there's colors that break up. Like every section has colors. Some people put little dotted boxes around them or boxes around each section. It's got to flow and be easily digestible. If it's just a bunch of words and all kinds of different font sizes and 17 different fonts and 42 different colors and a hodgepodge, nobody's going to read that crap. Content is king. You've got to provide real value. And you can do it in any industry, but you've got to provide real actionable value. It takes time. This is not something that it took me about 6 to 8 months to really get this ramped up. But I just stuck at it. I just kept my head down and I kept doing it. I wasn't making this kind of money the first year, not even nowhere close, probably 20 grand, 30 grand maybe the first year. But then it starts snowballing and it's kind of like launching a product on Amazon. It takes a little while. You got to put in the work. You have to regularly clean the list. Just like I told you, I kill people that don't open and click. AI tools, there's some great AI tools out there that can really help you streamline this process or have an employee do it, but you need a human overseeing it. You can't just totally rely on AI. You can, but it's not going to be nearly as effective, not even close. And then you need to provide value without people ever clicking out of the newsletter. If you're just driving them somewhere else, you do want to drive them somewhere else. You want some of those clicks to show engagement, but you've got to provide value. So if all they do is open the newsletter and read through it, they like, that was good. I'm cool. I'm good. And those are some of the keys to build this authority. And once you do that, you'll have authority in your industry and your space, and you can leverage it in all kinds of ways like I just showed you. So my question to you is, what if you could implement this for your brand? What if I just showed you how I'm making money off of it, but there's still a whole nother side to this that you need to know. How do you create this content? How do you create the newsletter? How do you do this? I just showed you the money making part, which is an important part that's working for me. But what if I showed you the exact steps and all the resources to actually create a killer newsletter? Would that be cool? What if you could take control of this and future proof your business against competitor surprises and market shifts by owning your own list that's actually engaged? I know a lot of people, they say, oh, yeah, I got 500,000 emails on my list. I was like, how often do you email them? Well, I'm afraid to. What if they complain? What if it's spam, considered spam? United States is an opt-out country. It's not an opt-in country. So you don't need to worry about that. But if you're not pissing off somebody, you're not doing a good job. And you're targeting everybody. I get people that say, take me the hell off this newsletter. I don't want this damn newsletter. People that sometimes will cuss me out. You can't take it personal. You move on. I get other people when I go to shows like, Kevin, best newsletter ever. I love it. I don't miss an issue. I actually print it out and cut up sections and file it in a notebook. I pass it on to my team. And have them implement stuff. We discuss it in meetings. So you get both. So don't worry about that. So that's why I want to introduce you to the $1 Billion Seller Newsletter Secrets training that I have. Now, I shot this a year ago, and I did a webinar about a year ago, and I showed some stuff, and I had several people sign up for this, and we shot it. So, but it's just been sitting there. I haven't done anything with it, and it's really, really cool. And so I want to offer this to you guys. It's 10 different modules. Each one is about 2 hours. This is not me sitting in front of a camera and just yabbering on like a normal course. It's called a cohort, C-O-H-O-R-T. So it's me with an audience, with people on the other side. It's like a Zoom call. And so sometimes there's 1 or 2 people, sometimes there's 5 or 10 people. They are on the other side so they can ask questions, and I'm speaking to an audience. I'm not just speaking to a camera, and it's interactive. They can ask questions, and we did it, and it's very detailed. And I went over all kinds of stuff. I brought in guests for it. And so there's 10 different modules, and about 2 hours each. And there's the Beehive one's a deep dive into Beehive. There's a growth engines automation one. There's one, each one's on a specific topic, if you can't tell. One's on content alchemy. One's all about deliverability, how to master, make sure you get in the inbox. Another one's on how to create killer content and your voice. Another one's on persuasion and metrics, how to know if you're doing good or not. Another one's on how do you team this and scale it. Another one's on advanced monetization, how do you actually some of what I just showed you and some other stuff. Another one's on list building, and another one's on how to dominate. So a lab on niche domination. These are worth, I could sell each of these individually. I thought about doing this. I thought about putting these up on School or somewhere and selling them individually because they're that valuable. People would pay this small amount for each one of them. It's about $4,000, legit money. It's not some made up money if you had each one of these. But I don't want to do that. I want to help you guys out because I think everybody should be doing this. and so if you want to sign up for this, you're not going to pay $4,000. I'll show you here in just a second. But if you're one of the first 100, I'm going to do a Zoom call where you can submit your newsletter for a hot seat review if you want, and I'll actually go through your newsletter and give you specific advice once you have it up and running, or maybe you already have one, or maybe you're just developing it. Once it's up and running, I'll do that for you if you want. Or I'll do it for other people, and you can just listen in and learn from that. You'll get PDF resources and transcripts of all the training. So you'll get all that in addition to the videos. And then I'll do a live Q&A session with everybody in June. So that gives you time to go through the training and maybe get something started and digest it. And then I'll do probably towards the middle to end of June, I'll do a live Q&A session with everybody to answer any questions and help everybody along or sharing cool stuff that's just come out. This is what someone that went through the last one said, Dwayne Siebert, really nice guy. He saw me present something on newsletters. He said he couldn't take notes fast enough. It's the best presentation he's seen. I appreciate that, Dwayne. Then after going through this training, he just sent me this. I didn't ask for that. He just sent it and said, hey, I thought I was a smart guy, but you know what? I learned about 10 times more than I thought I knew or even was anticipating. It was really good. It's like drinking from a fire hose. I'm so thankful that I went ahead and signed up. So the value is there. And it's just a matter of do you implement or not. I know that Kelsey Farrar from Lunch with Norm that does Norm's son that does his, he went through it. And I also advised him, and their newsletter dramatically went better. I know some other people that have gone through it that have really upped their newsletter. My friend Elena Sara, she does in the pickleball space, and she's really implemented a lot of stuff and seeing really good results off of it. So if you want to do this, this is really what you should do. Now, if you're like, Kevin, this sounds good, but I'm not sure, I don't have a list. Well, Module 1 will show you exactly how to do that for less than 25 cents a subscriber to get going. You can't do this in perpetuity for 25 cents, but it'll get you going. Well, if you got a boring niche, like, I'm selling widgets. I can't, nobody wants a newsletter on widgets. I'll show you how to actually you can actually twist that to actually dominate for anybody that ever might want to buy a widget or anything related to widgets. If you're not technical, it's okay. There's one-click templates. There's detailed training on how to use stuff. Throughout the course, a lot of students are asking questions, and I'm answering them, so that'll answer a lot of your questions. Now, you could do nothing today, and that's okay. Most of you are not going to do anything. You know, this is cool. Thanks, Kevin. See you later. I'm out of here. But that would be a mistake, in my opinion, because if you decide to do something, you're going to start owning your audience, which is super, super important. And then you take an audience into a community. And that's where the value is. And that's a whole nother discussion. But audiences, and then you take an audience and you leverage that into a community, you're off to the races on your brand. You don't have to worry about platform bans, algorithm changes, or ad cost spikes. You'll be able to control everything. You'll have predictable cash flow because sponsors and affiliate deals are booked oftentimes months in advance. I know the next 2 months already they're booked up, and most of them are prepaid. You're going to have an instant launch lever if you're launching products. You're going to have a built-in exit value. Newsletters are going to increase your value. Newsletters by themselves can sell for 3 to 7 times annual profit. So just my newsletter alone for the $1 billion sellers, if I want to sell that, potentially could get $1 to $2 million right now if I wanted to sell that. And then you're going to market-proof your growth. And then as you see, you spend a little bit of time in the beginning because you got to get your feet wet and learn the system, but I'm down to less than 10 hours a week on mine. And it's generating that kind of profit. This year, it'll be basically over $1,000 per hour I put into it. That's going to be making me. If you don't stay here, you're just going to keep doing the same old thing. One TOS tweak is going to mess you up. You're just going to keep paying more for advertising and trying to compete with everybody else, race to the bottom. Without your own list, you're basically at a disadvantage. Your valuation's not going to increase as much if you ever try to sell your business. And you're basically losing money every week you're not doing this. In my case, you'd be losing $5,200 a week in profit just by not doing this. You don't want to be that person that 12 months from now wishes you did this when you see other people that watch this webinar starting to take off and doing a good job. Someone else that's doing a good job in the Amazon space right now is Ritu. I know I saw her on here. If you're not following her newsletter, be sure to follow her AI for e-commerce newsletter. She's doing a really good job. And she's implementing a lot of this stuff. I don't think she went through my training before. I think she's watched some webinars and she's a smart lady. But she's doing a really good job too. So just imagine if 12 months from now, your Stripe is going off, dinging while you sleep. You got sponsors queuing up to pay you like I do. You own the channel. No algorithm can take it away. And you control your destiny and have a flywheel that's printing cash not only for this for the newsletter itself, but for your entire brand and your entire ecosystem. So if you want to enroll today, you're going to basically get this. You get every module that's time stamped. You jump straight to the tactic you need. You're going to, it's cohort style, like I said. So you're going to learn from real operators. This is not general theory. You're going to have all the PDFs, the checklists, spreadsheets, shortcuts, all the resources. You get lifetime access to it. It's all on Vimeo. So you get lifetime access, revisit as much as you want. You're not just buying videos. You're getting a complete operating system, the same one that I'm using that'll print me over $500,000 in profit this year. All you got to do is plug this system into your brand, start doing it, stick with it, hang in there while in the beginning it's going to be a little rough and tough, and then you'll have this flywheel spinning for you. Again, these are all the modules and a little breakdown of them. You screenshot that if you want to take a look at it. I'm not going to go through them all again, but you get all this stuff and what we cover. It's really, really well done. The 10 modules, like earlier, was if I sold those individually, it'd be about $4,100, and I could definitely sell them individually. Last year, I sold this for $997. That was the price for the people that went through this cohort. But for those of you that are on here today, I'm offering it for $497, just 50% off. So it's 50% off, $497 one time, no additional fees. And the best thing is you could start tonight. You can start module 1 tonight. Take me about an hour or two to get you after you sign up, to get you the login and everything. But then you can start on it right away if you want, or save it for the weekend, or do it next week, or do it in June if you want, whenever you have. And you get all those bonuses that I talked about. So it's half price. It's just $497 if you do that today. You'll have everything you need to start. And don't leave any stone untouched. It's the most complete training system probably for newsletters in the world, from someone who's actually in the weeds doing it day in, day out, and that knows marketing. That's the QR code. If you want to scan that QR code, they'll take you to Stripe. You can sign up. You can also cut and paste that link at the bottom into your browser, and that will help you out too. Brian says he's in. Thanks, Brian. Dan, the 497 will be available until tomorrow night. Let me put the link in the, see if I can put the link in the chat too for you guys. There you go. It's in the chat. Oh, thanks, Shane. You put it in there too. It's 2 different links. They're both to go to the same place. So either one. Thanks. I appreciate that, Shane. Just one more quick thing. Some of you may be looking at this. This all sounds good, Kevin, but you know what? I don't have time for this. I don't really want to do this, but I would love to have this. If that's you, Norm and I have a company called Dragonfish that we'll be announcing this summer. And one of the divisions, you see 6 divisions down there: SOAR, Sonara, Serena, Surge, Savante, and Celix. One of those divisions will be doing this kind of stuff of this company. So they'll be doing newsletters for other people. The price is higher. It starts at $2,000 a month, depending on how often you are and the involvement and how detailed you want it. It can go up higher than that. But if that's of interest to you, and you're like, I don't want to do this, but I've got a big brand and I would like to do this, to have you just do this for my company in conjunction with us, that's an option. If you want that, you can scan the QR code on the right and get on the wait list. We already have several people that we're starting with that are in our beta program. So we're getting the systems down and the processes in place before we take on a whole lot of clients on this. But if that's something that you're interested in, you can go to the QR code on the right and get on the wait list, and we'll reach out to you as soon as we have some spots open up. Could have a couple more beta spots open up. But as soon as we do, we'll reach out to you and see if that's of interest to you. Or if you want to do this yourself or have your team do it, which I would encourage you, even if you do have us do it, to have the knowledge so you can, I would still do probably the one on the left. So you have the basic knowledge, and then you may get into it like, okay, this is cool. I understand it now. You guys do it for me now. Now I know how to intelligently talk to you. That could be another option too. The link didn't go to the chat. Oh, it went to host and panelists. Sorry about that. There you go. Should see it now in the webinar chat. So Dan said, how long is the price? The price will be good until tomorrow. Brian says he's in. Paul is in. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. any other questions? Yeah, there will be a recording available, Labib. I will send that out. Corns Investing says, what's the name of this one bobbing? I'm not sure what that's referring to. Brian, yeah, I monetize via newsletter ads. I monetize via the everything I just showed you is all monetization. You can also offer your consulting services. You can do dedicated emails to your consulting service, ads in the newsletter, tips like you can do advertorial stuff. It's kind of like half ad, half education. Those can work very well. We go through all that in the course, but there's tons of stuff like that. Brian J says, how do you get the insider info in any niche to stand out? BDSM is very unique content. You can do it in a niche. You can do it in dogs. You can do it in automotive. You can do it in beauty. You can do it in any single niche. And we go through that in the training. I show you exactly how to niche that down, how to niche it down and actually find those topics that are of interest that you can build an audience around. Thanks, Brandis. Thanks for signing up. Appreciate it. Thanks, Andy. Jordan says he loves there's no such thing as privacy in the USA. Yeah, it doesn't exist. He's in the EU, but yeah, you can still apply. Some of this won't work, and if you're targeting just like Spanish speaking, but you can target Spanish speaking in the U.S. for sure. Doing this, there's 60 million Spanish speakers in the U.S. Awesome, thanks, Ina. Appreciate it. So all you guys that and gals that paid, give me an hour or two, and you'll get an email from me. You'll get it today. You'll get it in the next hour or two. I have to manually process those because this is not like a huge webinar where there's like 10,000 people ordering it. So it's all automated. So I manually process those. And so I'll get everything will go out to you in the next hour or two. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for signing in. Let me see who's all signed in. If you have any other questions too, feel free. I know we have a smaller group on here, but if you have any other questions, I can spend another 5 or 10 minutes or so and answer those for you if you'd like. Let me see who else is in. I see. Refresh it. Dan's in. Thanks, Dan. Paul, Boris, Brian, Heather. Several more coming in right now. So yeah, you can use that link that we posted up in the chat or scan the QR code on the left. Andy said, can we share this webinar? I have a friend who's possibly a great fit. Of course. Yeah, Andy. I'll be sending out a replay as well. So you can share this to them. Charles says, how much of an upfront investment is there in a newsletter? More than time. It's not a lot. I mean, Beehive, they have a free program, so you could start free. You can't have like, I forget how many subscribers it is. Maybe it's 1,000, 5,000, something like that. It's a smaller amount of subscribers, so you could start for free on Beehive, and then their cheapest plan is like 40 or 50 bucks, and then their pro one's like 100 bucks. That gives you some of the ad stuff, but the ad stuff's not going to appear when you first start anyway. You have to kind of ramp that up. But so let's just say for that software, let's call it 50 bucks. Why don't we just call it 100 bucks a month? And then you're going to have a few AI tools probably. Maybe if you're using some, 20 bucks a month for an AI thing. And then you might have some RSS feeds or some others where it depends on how you're getting the information. Under $200 a month to get it, other than your time. It should not be super expensive. Now, if you're hiring people and you're paying people, that's obviously going to add to the cost. But I would start small. I would not try. I do mine twice a week. I would not be trying to do twice a week. You might start like every other week, just so you can get the hang of it and get the feeling for it and get in a groove, and then go from every other week to weekly. And then down the road, if you decide it makes sense, you could go to twice a week. That's a commitment of your time or staff's time, and can you use that for leverage? The more often you can do it, the better, because then the more you become part of people's habits and routines, becomes part of their daily life, and you have more authority. But a lot of people, that's not reasonable to actually do it like daily. Um, Charles says, is everything just based on Beehive? I use Beehive in a lot of the examples, but you can do a lot of the principles of the marketing and the sourcing and the advertising and the content creation you could use on anything. You could use it on Kit, on Substack, on if you're using you prefer to use a different tool, you could use it there. I don't recommend that. I think Beehive is by far the best, but you could apply this to other platforms. If you got any other questions, feel free to type those in. I see Nick just signed up. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. Um, Aaron says, Kit, why do I like Kit? Kit's not bad. I know several people that use Kit. I just don't think it has all the bells and whistles for newsletter people that Beehive does. Beehive has much better segmentation, much better ad integration and cross referral systems. It's got some of its templates and design is much more, I guess, Apple like, I guess you should say, versus PC like, which is generally lends itself to better aesthetics. And there's a lot of things that are in Beehive that just aren't in some of the other tools. But Kit is probably the second most common one out there. Joe says, are you including things like replays from BDSS Iceland in the revenue generator, or is that separate? That's separate. The only ones I include is if it's directly out of the newsletter. Um, so like that one I showed you, Joe, of $40,000 that came from the newsletter. But like when I do, BDSS, that's why. But the thing is, I know for a fact it affects it because I do a virtual BDSS event. And last year in February, the virtual BDSS event sold more tickets than it's ever sold, and I did less email marketing outside of the newsletter. So I know the newsletter drove quite a few sales, but I don't have a way to I didn't have a way to track that specifically. I know it helped fill up that uh, summit online, which is $1,000 ticket. So it's not a cheap summit. But because people got the newsletter, because they're like, all right, I've been following the newsletter for at that point, what is it, 8 months or something like that, 6 months, whatever it is. Like, all right, this stuff seems legit. Kevin's stuff is, I'm going to gamble and I'm going to spend the $1,000 expecting to get something even better than what I'm getting in the newsletter. So I know that there's a effect there, but it's hard to track that. So I don't include those numbers in there, but there's definitely value there. Andy says, is it easy to switch from Kit to Beehive? I've never actually done that switch, but I think Beehive, if I recall, they will help you migrate. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at that in like a year, but I seem to remember like a year ago, they have like an onboarding migration tool, and they actually will get a tech person involved if it like messes up or something to help you migrate. Um, Exporting your list should not be that hard. I mean, just export a list and start fresh. But if you want to export all the data and all the previous like newsletter content, so that it shows up in the Beehive system through their blog, which does generate. I kind of glossed over it, but by having Beehive, they automatically publish a blog post of every newsletter. So there are a lot of people that don't want to sign up for the newsletter. They don't want to give me their email, but they will go read that, and then that does start showing up in Google. And Beehive has ways where you can actually optimize like the meta tags and some of the backside of that, and even the slugs, so that you can change the name of the slug, the URL, so you can put keywords in that URL slug, which helps you rank on Google. And I saw I have to go back, but it's about 1,100 people I think have signed up for my newsletter because they found it by doing some sort of random Google search, and my newsletter popped up, and so it took them to they clicked and went to my newsletter, a blog post basically from Beehive. And as they're reading it, as you scroll down about halfway down the page, it will pop up and say, "Hey, you like what you're reading? You should subscribe." And I've gotten 1,100 people that way that are directly attributed. And I don't put any effort into it. I could go and like really optimize that with the slugs to actually optimize on keywords. I could probably double or triple that if I put some effort into it. I just haven't taken the time to put any effort into that. Charles says, do I use AI to help me write, or do you write the entire thing yourself? I do use AI to help. I have my style. I will a lot of times write something and then I will plug it into AI and said, you know, jazz this up. I mean, I got special prompts, but I'm just summarizing it, and it will actually make it a little bit better. Then I'll compare my original to. I'm a pretty good writer, but I'll compare my original to the AI version, and it might have said something a little bit better here or there, and I might take parts of it and put it in. And then, but if I've got a big technical thing like a Amazon science paper, I'm not going to read that and like try to summarize that. I'll use AI to do that, and I'll use a lot of times. I have the $200 a month OpenAI Deep Research. I'll use that because I find it does a better job. Some people like Claude for writing. Some people like uh, 4.0. It just depends on your preferences. But I'll use different tools for different things. And then for images, I'll use it for some images. Another thing a lot of people don't realize is that you want to compress your images, and you can actually get penalized for heavyweight images in your emails. So there's a ratio of images to text that's important. And I use something called Tiny PNG. You'll see this in the course. But so all my images go through Tiny PNG, and it knocks out, basically makes them index instead of RGB. And it'll take like a 460K image down to like a 60K. And that weight, it's called the weight of the image. So the 60K is considered like the weight, like pounds or something. That weight is important when it comes to newsletters and being in spam and stuff. So I'll show you a lot of tips like that in the deliverability section. That's just one example. You're welcome, Aaron. No problem. Anybody else have any questions? Let's see if anybody else has signed up since Nick. Nick was the last one to sign up. So there's 2 QR codes on the phone. I mean on the screen. I think that's probably going to do it for today. Feel free if you want to sign up. You got until tomorrow. I will send a replay of this out, so you'll be able to take a look at that. Andy says BDSS is so well known as the best summit, and the virtual is gold. You also have a great following through the active attendees WhatsApp group. It just keeps firing 24/7. Yeah, that's called community. So the newsletter can build the audience, help you build an audience, and then you want to leverage audience to community. So that's a good point that Andy makes, is that there's two sides to this. I have 2 WhatsApp groups. You could use School, you could use Facebook, I just choose to use WhatsApp. I think it's a little bit better for this. But if you've been to any of my in-person BDSS events or a virtual event, you get access to my BDSS WhatsApp group. About 700 people or so in there, 700, something like that. And it's pretty active. But the deal is that's a community because it's not an audience. I don't have to be involved. So that thing runs, like you said, Andy, 24/7 without me participating. My participation is usually I'll answer occasional question or I'll throw in a promotion for something. But it runs by itself, and people are helping each other. That's when you know you've done a really good job, is when you have a community. I have the same thing for the newsletter. If you referred at least 3, I think it's 3, I can't remember, it's 3 or 5. It's 3 or more people to the newsletter. You get access to the newsletter WhatsApp group, which is probably 250, 300 people. That one's not quite as active as the BDSS one because it's a different level of people. Typically, there's some newer people in there, so they're not quite as savvy or have the same type of questions. But that group is only available if you've referred at least a certain number, a small number of people to the newsletter. Then you get access to that. Those type of things are some of the strategies I'll talk about in the training as well. Thanks, Cont's Investing, for saying the latest BDSS and Elevate were the best ever. I can't wait to apply the learnings in the upcoming launch. Thanks for all the value. No problem. Glad to provide that. Brian, yeah, you'll get a receipt, a confirmation email will go out. And then I'll send you instructions in the next hour or two on how to log into everything.